More on debt, knowing the ropes, and the conduct of state. That sounds like a nice evening, doesn't it? Well, first let us begin with affairs de court. There was yet another ruler whose name I have finally managed to forget, who said, "Let the people say what they want, and I will do what I want." Think about that a second. Now we're talking about a real ruler, a real autocrat. And yet this particular ruler says, let the people say whatever they want, whatever they please, and I'll do whatever I want. I have no idea, no serious idea, why history would remember this, assuming I didn't just make it up, that man said that. But now, for us in this limited expanse, let me ask you this. So we're not, I was saying that for the rest of humanity, why history would bother to recall that. Can you see how simple, how direct, and yet how complex a utility this could serve? Can any of you see this as being a kind of ultimate divergence of action and thinking of action? That if we now jump back from apparently talking about out there to in here, talk about the possibility of a kind of almost unremovable monarch, a single force in you, a single kind of intelligence that could take the attitude that I'll let the rest of me, I'll let the people say whatever they want, but I will do what I want. And you see, it would take a truly revolutionist kind of ruler, though. You would have to be stable, would have to be strong, have to be self-directed, and at the same time you would have to be flexible, you would have to be intelligent, and you would have to be ever increasingly complex to do it. Now, I have even pointed out and taken ideas from history out in the city and used them in my own way to point out that a kind of tyrant that would be operating, a kind of correct ruler would be operating in the most efficient manner would, from many views, be ruthless, tolerate no dissension, the same kinds of things that could be said, but perhaps by people in the city in a pejorative sense, to a tyrant out there in the state of the external world. But that same sort of thing can be seen from certain views as to be positive if it was used in one's internal affairs. But now can you see that coevally, what appears to be, if not the exact opposite, it is, there's no term for it, but it's a one-quarter opposite. That I have not now totally reversing the situation and saying, all right, a real strong tyrant would be somebody that has no control over the people. Now, I haven't completely reversed it, but I one-quarter reversed it. That this ruler could say, let the people say whatever they want. Now, we have reached an absolute area that would not operate efficiently. It would not survive long if we were talking about only out there, because then you would have the attempted bastardization of a tyranny, of a strong leadership without control of the people. And you've either got to control their behavior, remember, or you've got to control what they think. And then let supposedly what they think then set the course for their behavior. And so that you are indirectly attempting to do what you would be doing more directly if you just said, well, fuck what they think. I don't care what they think as long as they do what we tell them to do. But now, I have opened up another possibility. Me and this anonymous ruler, let the people go ahead and say whatever they want. Not just think whatever they want, let them say whatever they want. but I'm going to do what I want. There is a tacit inference, I might add there, that means that the ruler is going to do what he wants and nobody's going to stop him. That is, people, they can say whatever they want to. This has gone one step further than that one possibility of saying, all right, as long as people behave as the ruler says they must, then they can think anything they want to. We don't care. When I come by, if they all have to jump up and holler, "Hail, Sam Caesar," I don't care if they look insincere. I'm not going to turn around. I do not want to see some sort of feigned passion on their face. I don't give a rat's ass what they think, as long as they do what they're supposed to do. But now it appeared to be opening up dangerous possibilities to say, as this would be saying if we were simply talking about the external world, that not only can the people think whatever they want to, they can say whatever they want to. Still, in the short sense I gave, the people can say what they want to, but I'm going to do what I want to. The tacit part being, I'm going to do what I want to, and nothing that they can say is going to have any effect. Just not. Now that would be, indeed, out there, a most risky, if not downright questionable and doomed approach. But now how about internally? Well, first off, would any of you get a glimpse that even at the city level, that's what is already taking place? Not as stringently as I'm trying to infer and where I'm fixing to try and drag your attention, but is that not already the case? Is that not what has always passed for being a kind of self-reflective description that men make of their inner life? Is that not a fair description, although a new one, of the ambiguity of the human nervous system? Of my good side, my bad side, my conscious mind, my unconscious mind, the big P, the partnership. Is that not it? That part of me talks and creates this verbal reality, and then there's another one of me that does whatever it wants. Their positions, since ordinary people, of course, have never taken things to this degree, they cannot see any variations of that theme, because the variations are, is what seems to be verbal reality at times, flip-flops. But at any rate, is that not a fair description of what takes place under the most routine conditions? Is that not the whole idea of people having thoughts and plans that may or may not bear much resemblance to their actions? Is that not a part of the kind of fuel that keeps a fire in the fireplace burning and keeps your breath going in and out and your blood circulating and giving you the apparent reason for getting up in the morning? Some little apparent reason. But it has to do with the difference that the people say one thing and I do something else. And then you don't know it, but sometimes, if you could follow that far enough, sometimes you say whatever you want to and the people do whatever they want to. But every time it flip-flops back, you always take what seems to be the spokesman, whatever seems to be the proper, whatever seems to be the one that lights your fire right then and greases your wounds. That seems to be the one that, well, that's me. That's me. The throne seems a bit shaky today. I seem to have lost weight around the circumference of my head. The crown is beginning to slip. I can't resist trying to point you back again. Take it as an absolute, right quick again, statement that someone out here made. And it would seem to be indicative of some external situation, a real political situation, of some ruler somewhere, a man firmly on the throne, a man in charge, not an idiot, not good King George, number whatever, but a man truly in charge, and he finally, just one day, confides to somebody that obviously somebody brought the subject about people talking, and it may not be to your best interest. It may not be in line with the kind of plans that you have recently enunciated. And he says, look, let the people say whatever they want. I will do whatever I want. If a man could pull that off, you understand out there, you're talking about a situation that is beyond 3D description. Because you would have to say that the man would have unimpeachable physical force above, over and beyond that which is available to the populace. Now you've got that right there to say, they can say what they want to, and the inference being it's not going to affect me one way or the other, it's not going to disrupt anything because I will do what I want. Then he would have to have, in the 3D world, physical force that was unconditional. All right, comma. But do you understand, out in the physical world, if you got that kind of force, it will execute itself. That is, a tyrant, a ruler. I keep saying tyrant sometimes. I do not mean it in a negative sense. A ruler, because we're not making judgments now, right? The ruler, if he has power in place that is all potentially encompassing and destructive, it cannot go unexercised. That is, if you have that kind of power, it is impossible in the city to then say, all right, let the people say whatever they want to. Can anybody hear that? We're not talking about politics now. I'm talking about the way life is arranged in its innards. The butts and guts that are part of us, and vice versa, arranged in such a way that you cannot have, let me push it further since evidently no one responded. Let me say it in the real ordinary sense. We are now talking about a real despot. A real bad news kind of guy is in charge. And he has got a secret police that makes the KBG look like the Boy Scouts. And he has them in place. Could you just hear this for a second? There is no reason why. Don't look for any kind of political reason. But that man, that situation, that part of life's body cannot, whatever happened, he can fall down and hurt his head and have a concussion, smoke some real weird shit. He cannot get up and say, wait a minute. All right, everything like it was, but I just had a curious idea, and to further notice, I want you to announce to the people that they can say whatever they want to. Go do that. Do you understand that's not possible? It is literally not possible. And there is no reason why. It is not possible. So the situation I started off describing, using as a springboard what would appear to be external political situations of a ruler saying, let the people do it and I'll do what I want to. If he could actually enforce that, if this alleged person who said that out there in the ordinary world said it, was sane, was not about to abandon power, then it was a meaningless statement. Moot in the ultimate sense, the literal sense. It was just useless because it cannot be done. And yet history has remembered the statement. And if I hadn't carried on about this and just left it as a kairoot or something, I will wager that a whole handful of you are going, yeah, hey. And if I jumped up and hollered, yeah, hey, what? You don't know. Now back to the internals. It would still seem that that is a fair description of the way things ordinarily work without being involved with this, without me trying to expand the limits of what that verbal picture of this ruler portrayed about his relationship to the people in their talk, that internally it would seem that that is a fair statement. That is, that your nervous system, if you're ordinary, you'd be saying your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind, your lesser self, your evil spirits, you would say that there is something in me, these things, and they babble on at times. And yet, it seems as though some way I muddle through it, and in spite of what they say, they're all the time telling me to walk up to people in stores that won't give me fast service, salespeople, and stick my fingers in their eyes. But I've always wanted to stand up to my Uncle Charlie, that several times I see him a year and just stand up and say, Uncle Charlie, get stuffed. And yet I never do these things, and I talk about them. And I talked for years I was going to kill my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, and I never did it. And so I've got this babble goes on that I can't seem to stop. And yet in some way, I may not look upon myself, says the ordinary person, as being a ruler, a king, a regent, but there is something in me that operates and seems to do as it will regardless of what I say. And so an ordinary person's nervous system could say that makes some sense, that's a fair sketch of my own internal situation, and it is not. All right, you insist it is. Yes, I do. All right, let me ask you this. Who is in control? Now, you say, I'm still talking to city consciousness, you say that there is babble, that there is talk, There's verbal rebel-rousing going on inside of you that is immoral, perhaps illegal, certainly condemnable, and yet you have never acted upon it. Is that correct? Yes, that's what I said. All right. Does that mean the parts of you that has not acted on it are in charge? Well, I guess so. All right. Well, if they're in charge, why don't they stop that other shit? Would you like to rephrase that? All right. You do not execute and live out your worst dreams and the kind of noises that I'm sure came from childhood traumas, or the devil made you think these things and talk about it. Well, obviously, you're not responsible, right? No. And so there's a part of you, some part, thank God, yes, thank God, that does not succumb to this kind of verbal venom. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So there's a part of you somewhere, thank God, yes, that is strong and can survive this and will not act upon this. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So that's the power in you. That would be the ruler. Yes. That is the one in control. Yes. As opposed to the parts of you that babble on and says things about killing your mother and running people off the road that pull out in front of you. That is not really you. No. Well, that's not the you that you have any control over. That's not the real. It's just not the real you. The rest of that it's out of control. However it got there. Yes. So the part that is in control never follows through on it. Right. So that part is in control. That is the power. That is the ruler. That's closer to being you. Yes. All right. If it has any power, why don't it take the rest of that that's making the noise and make them shut the fuck up? I thought you were going to rephrase it. Well, I lied to you. I'm asking you, who is in control? We're back to another one of the great areas where people cannot believe the very things that all of those from would-be religious to cold and scientific claim as being the ultimate birthright of humanity, and that is to believe the evidence of your own senses. Such as I pointed out last time, people cannot go in and look at an autopsy and face up to facts that split somebody from top to bottom, pull out their guts, turn them inside out, and tell humanity, there is man. No, something's missing. No. Well, what do you do? You think the pathologist hit it? No. The medical examiner said, oh, look over there, isn't that so-and-so? And then they pulled out something. Right. The same way you can ask, all right, who is in charge in you? Now, of course, if you're that foolish, you are should be prepared for almost an infinite discussion, as long as you'd stand around. Because people cannot face up to the very thing that they would say should be the bottom line, if not the intellectual birthright of thinking people, and that is the evidence of your senses. And you can talk, you can make examples if you were so foolish. Of course, we're not talking about trying to recruit people to this. We're talking about going on inside of you and me trying to get through to you. And for you to then start turning on yourself, the evidence of your senses is this. There is nobody in control. And no one in the city, though, can see that. Any more than you can split a man from top to bottom and say, there it is. Brains, everything. No, something's missing. Who's in control? Well, wait a minute. This part of me, that aspect. Well, if that is true, then why doesn't it do such and such? That is, why doesn't it clean up all the rest of it? No. Invalid question. Dumb question. It doesn't make sense. The evidence is this, that there is nobody in control. How is it, I asked you earlier this month, that an organization of any nature, from the post office to a religion, to a government agency, to a government, has a stated purpose, was built gradually, cellularly, the same way as the incubation, the period of eggs, the gestation period of a human being born from that one little egg and spermosal, and it goes boom, and it had a purpose to turn into a human. The organization had a purpose, and it goes as it goes along. It is an intellectually based organization. No matter what it is, it comes from the talking end of man's nervous system, whether it's a church or a science or a governmental agency. And so it is built piece by piece, and as it goes along, it has to verbally measure what it's doing, and it sets up what it calls bylaws, rules, principles, directives. And I pointed out, and most all of you at that moment heard a little bit of it, caught a glimpse, that there is no one person. The Pope doesn't know all of the encyclicals or the cannons or the 38 shots that they fired out. He doesn't know it all. The Secretary of the Postal Service, or whatever his title is now, he doesn't know it all. Nobody knows everything necessary in any organization to keep it going, apparently. And yet it goes, right? Everybody nodded along last time. Why? It's obviously why. It's because nobody is in control. No human. No. Now, I know when I turned my head, I saw the medical examiner. I saw him put his hand in his pocket. Something is missing here. Something is missing. There it is. Things operate in a way that apparently is impossible on the basis of their own stated purpose. That they operate, of course I've been calling it with some success, they operate enough to stay alive, to apparently fulfill some overall continuing purpose in humanity, and yet no one person, nobody knows everything necessary to make that thing work. Why? How is this possible? Because nobody is in charge. No, that's a trick. You're just putting it that way, because that's not true. If that were true, would say city consciousness, what would be the use in trying? And I'd have to say, don't give me that shit. I knew I shouldn't start talking to you in the first place. I was pointing out some of the attributes for some internal ruler to be able to willfully and meaningfully restate my opening gambit of let the people say what they want and I will do what I want. For you people that may be seeing this, you understand I am using, for the time being, an illusion of humans being their own state, individually and collectively, and having rulers and government and institutions in them, and the people. That you've got all these apparent little factions and parts of you little passing opinions and etc. But to talk about a ruler, you got to look at the ruler Yes, old King Red. For there to be a spot that there apparently is this ruler that could internally, in a willful manner, that there is noise going on in the nervous system, that is the people talk. And for you, for an individual, finally to say, all right, what you're doing is facing, in a sense, a three-dimensional fait accompli. I'm talking about a permanent fait accompli. That it's sort of silly once you can see a little more complex than the 3D world to say, well, let the people say what they want. Inside the court, if you had a few really intelligent couriers, they'd be behind the throne going like, as opposed to what? Let the people say whatever they want. If the people were really cynical and had the nerve, they'd come to the throne and go, hey, thanks a lot. Boy, we appreciate that. Because the point is, since when have you been able to shut the people up? That is what people go through. Much of the older and now the current attempts at self-help, meditation, certain kinds of drugs, what you're attempting to do in some fashions is you're attempting to make the complexity of the human nervous system a little more simplistic. To wit, you're attempting to shut them up. They talk about these kind of Indian yoga techniques and meditation techniques to calm yourself, to center yourself, to take a few moments each day and to try and do away with the stress and that kind of babble. To the degree that they have success, it is some success, because if they could do it much, if you listen right quick, this is not the point of where I was going, it would be destructive. You'd blow your brains out without a gun. If you could actually, an ordinary person, those out doing some yogi's technique or whatever, trying to sit down and stop the internal turmoil, or to do Zen sittings and to try and take the turbulent waters of the human mind and make it calm. Anything other than a few seconds. I know people imagine that sometimes they can do it for 10 minutes. Anything other than a few seconds, what you have done is blown your brains out. That is, if you could get good at, they say, some of those people will say, well, sometimes I can do it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and God, it's so refreshing. My whole life is built around it now. And if you said, well, would it be great if you could do it just for an unlimited time? Well, they would say, yeah. They're not dumb, but they got no other recourse there in the 3D world. You know, if a little cyanide's good, God, if I had a fifth. But if anything's good, a little success, then certainly it'd be better if I could do it. But if you did it much further, it's like the old waitress I mentioned, some of you, that great philosopher that worked at a Ray Van's drive-in. They used to say, somebody mentioned something about their mind wandered for a second, they forgot what they were going to say, and she used to say, you know, I can't afford to let my mind wander because I was always afraid it wouldn't come back. That would be that if ordinary people in some way could suddenly stop this chatter, as they call it, and to soothe the waters and do it for just like God knows how long, just an undeterminate length of time, it'd be like your mind wandered and it wouldn't come back. You'd be out in the dark going, here boy, here, and it wouldn't, there'd be no here coming back. Back to where I was talking for a second. This sure is a small throne once I started going, isn't it? Looks so unbalanced. If this ruler, either out there or internally, said, well, let the people say what they want to. Did you hear my dramatic cynicism and sarcasm I was throwing into that scenario, as opposed to what? Well, let the people talk. Really? Really? So why would a person say that out there? Why would history remember it? How is it even possible to use this internally? Can you stop the people from talking? Are you going to be dumb enough to, in some way, if I insist, well, this is a good place to start, this is a good method, and you left tonight and went, all right, my attitude's going to be, all right, let those parts of my nervous system that do not seem to be interested in this, that do not seem to be involved with this, that seem to be, to varying degrees, beyond my direct grasp. All right, go ahead and let them talk. You've already started off with your foot in a septic tank. That is, you're back in the city. Like, all right, I'll adopt that method. All right, let the people say what they want to. You're gone. You're back in the city. What do you mean, let them? What choice have you had? What choice do you have? You understand? That's like the old joke of some father keeps turning around to his son and says, quit beating on that drum. The kid keeps beating on it. He said, I told you not to beat on the drum. The kid keeps beating on it, and finally says, all right, beat on that drum. I demand to be obeyed. That's what you're left with. So what possible use is it when I bring it up that if you can see at all, if you've got any functional knowledge of what's going on in you and everyone else, to start off with the sentence that I apparently quoted of this ruler, to say, let the people say whatever they want. If any of you seriously repeat that and thought that I said it even, or if I said, all right, that is the way to start, and you went out and you tried it or thought about it a second, thought, yeah, that's all right. If you didn't think, wait a minute, I either didn't hear you or this is a trick. Because you do not start off with your foot in dumbness to say, all right, let the people talk. They're talking. That's the first thing you remember. That's the first time you became conscious. It was like you were suddenly dropped in the middle of St. Peter's Square. Or down at the Champs-Élysées, and you're just there. You just dropped, and all you hear is talk. Except it seems in here, and you didn't know it then, but the idea is then, I'm conscious. I'm a real conscious little nipper now. I'm hearing voices. And it ain't mommy and daddy. I'm hearing voices in here. You've been hearing their voices. You heard dogs bark, trains go by, but to be conscious, you begin to hear the people talk. So that's where you started. And now to try and adopt what I was quoting, to say, all right, the attitude is, first off, I'll let the people say whatever they want, and then I'll do what I want, etc. You cannot start off on that kind of dumb footing, that kind of ordinary footing. So back to my rhetorical question that I'm fixing to unrhetoric. I ask you, if all this be true, which you should see it is, it's not an argument, it's not a sermon, that it's simply the people are talking in you. They've been talking in you. The people talk in your kingdom. So don't stop saying, well, let the people talk. Give yourself a dumb break. Take a break from being a stupid pseudo-ruler. The people are talking. They were talking before you had any idea that you were sitting, at least even on a shaky throne, even an orange crate, a little bit above the masses. They were already talking. That's how you knew you were there. So they're talking. What can you do with that situation? Let's see. Well, I think earlier, if I may quote myself, I think I mentioned, again as a kind of rhetorical teaser, could this possibly be the ultimate divergence between action and thinking of action? Or to really re-quote myself, how about the numerous times, for God knows what reason I keep bringing it up, about not telling yourself what you're doing? I've said that so many times, I bet some of you now think it has some importance. It's just a good thing I don't leap out of the bush and say, all right, what importance? But what if? What if we have circled back around on another level? What if you could then see the statement that I started out quoting, that a ruler who was extraordinary, because he could not be routine, he could not even be limited to the simplicity of the 3D world, that then he said, let the people talk, which he's just stating a fait accompli to begin the sentence. Let the people talk. Let them say whatever they want. The tacit part there being, they've been doing it, they were doing it before I was here, or they were doing it simultaneously with me being here. Thus far I have not found any efficient way to stop them. And of course the better you get, to say I have not found right now any efficient way to stop them is open to even further cost cutting. But this ruler says, let the people go ahead and talk, but I will do, let them say whatever they want, but I will do what I want. Could we be looking at, which is not possible in the city, and it just barely makes verbal sense, when I said the ultimate divergence, the separation of action from planning, that is routine talking of action. Well, I guess I was afraid of that. How about this? Let's try another direction. In the city, isn't that stupid? Wasn't that silly for me to say that? How in the world could you divorce, well, other than be nuts or something, to divorce action from thinking of action? Well, if I was more dramatic, I would hoop and holler and slap my little knee or my thigh and go, boy, isn't that a bell ringer? Isn't that stupid? Is it? Well, look at it this way. As far as you're concerned, at the ordinary level, all of your life, your actions have been tied to your thinking of action, your planning. Now, I know that all your plans did not reach full fruition, but the connection has always been there. You're still planning. You still have dreams of what you should be doing, what you may be doing later, let alone down the road. So action has always been tied to thinking about action, even after the fact. Well, what I should have done, and what I'll do next time when this kind of similar situation arises, What good has that done? Of course, you got to take my question, what good, not in some moral, any kind of qualitative sense. It is what effect has it had? How has this solidified the power of who seems to be your ruler? What ultimate, what far-reaching good has it done? And if you had anything approaching the potential to become more complex, you know what the answer is. And the answer is not none. The answer is no answer. The answer is it's self-evident. The answer is my question. For me to say, what good? If you can see that, then you're left. Let me turn you back to my question that I said, of course, was silly and ridiculous. What if in some way action could actually be separate from thinking of action? It is absolutely, again, pressing the extremes of ordinary intelligence, much less 3D verbiage. But since the other way, I can pull it back real quickly. It snaps. I'm making it snap back and forth, but you can see, I can take it back to a dualistic level, that your ordinary intelligence, up until now, operating at the ordinary level of sitting around daydreaming, planning, short-range plans, long-range plans, after-the-fact plans, how to get revenge, what I should have done. All of the people talking in you, in some way, if you're ordinary city intelligence, again, I said, all right, other than just ramblings that everybody has, daydreams, sexual daydreams, daydreams about nothing, you just look around and a car goes by and you go, boy, I wish I had that kind of car. Other than that kind of stuff, the rest of your inner life, that is the part of your nervous system that talks, what would you say it's concerned with? And people in the city, people all over the planet throughout the ages would say, well, the very things that it should be. I don't mean I'm real intelligent or anything, but the very thing I think about what I should be doing. The intellect is to make plans, to learn from your mistakes. It is like a non-written down depository of human knowledge and experience. And I'd say, good. I couldn't say it better. That they're at the level, you're an intelligent, sophisticated, educated person I'm talking to, the human intellect, besides the small little fun it may have. Well, Green Acres and pornography and shit like that. But other than that, what is the purpose of it? What is its utility? Well, it's to help me live, that is, to better direct my actions as an intelligent, thinking creature. Right. Couldn't have said it better. But then if I could take that thinking, intelligent creature and pistol whip the bastard and say, face up to it, Sam, or whatever her name was. Is your life worked out like you wanted? Can you go from point A to point B? Once you have not gone from point A to point B and you end up over at point Delta, and you look back and think, I'll learn from that. Next time it arose, did it help? Has any of your thinking, since I've got your attention here, has any of your thinking actually had any great effect, any positive effect on what you do in the future, and even you looking back over what you thought was mistakes? Has it helped at all? Tell me the truth now. Come on. We got to turn the tape over. Okay, try and listen. I'm not going to let this range much further, even verbally, into the area that could be construed as being some kind of science fiction. What I have just talked about in the last 5 minutes is just as simple and plain and direct as dirt. If you could see outside the ordinary binocular vision, if your nervous system was beyond the point of being a partnership, it is just as plain as can be. Not for ordinary people, if for no other reason. Again, you should realize that if in some way me or somebody else could grab a whole bunch of ordinary people and make them see what I'm talking about, Larry would get me. I'd be having blow up the planet. I'd have me tap the machinery of life. It would be self-destructive to whoever did it. Because ordinary people would suddenly be faced with the fact, wait a minute. And all they could see would be this. The only thing they could think would be, this whole thing is being driven till you drop. I am staying in line to be slaughtered. I can't do a damn thing except I can imagine I can do something. Jesus, thanks a lot for pointing that out to me. And if Larry didn't get me, they'd get me. You know, how can we repay you? Let me see if I got a knife on me or a gun. That's how simple it is behind what would appear to them to be the negative aspect. The simplicity of it is this, that a few people can see, but you've already got to be potentially already wound up a little bit more complex, or you would stop there. You would think, wait a minute, all you've done for me by following this and trying to think about it and trying to do it, the only thing I can imagine that you've been up to is to show me that I am just living impotence, that I can't do squat. Thanks a lot. Now see, you get to that point and it's like walking down the street and going through this, and suddenly you can't help it and you do turn a corner that I keep talking about. And right when you turn that corner, you can get a glimpse of what you think is a street sign that says impotence, waste of time, futility. But you got to be able to go ahead and turn on. It's meaningless. It's just it's a small blemish there on the corner where some of the mortar's coming off of a building. It's nothing. But an ordinary person, if I could drag them up there for it, they would hit that and they'd get a glimpse of that, of the ultimate futility, and that'd be it. And that's why, for one reason, there's self-protection of life itself. But for one thing, it doesn't produce people that can see it and can convey it in an impassionate way. They know better than try to do it. And if they could do it a little bit, then life's already arranged to where not many people can hear it at all anyway. So at any rate, it protects itself. But you people, I'll bring it up because you have got to see, I'm dragging you up to the corner, that at the 3D level, your intelligence would tell you that all I'm talking about is the futility of things. And it's not. What you have got to see that I was trying to lead you up to is that, quite truly, as far as words go, with this going up to the corner, and you can't stop there, there's nothing to stop and ponder like the edge of the building and to ponder, well, by God, it is futile. Isn't this great to be here and feel like a pile of shit? But to see that the question I was asking you is a simple fact, that if you can see it, that the correlation between your intellect, whatever it is, whatever your background, whatever your education, and I'm not talking about the little things about learning how to pull this switch and do this thing on an assembly line to keep your job. I'm talking about how to live. Does what this thing talk about, the people talking in you, the planning, the apparent looking back over your life, looking over the last 5 minutes to learn from your experience, has that had any positive, direct, recognizable effect on what you do? And the answer is no. And that's just astounding. As I said, if I can make somebody in the city see it, they just get that point and it'd be futility time, and that'd be it. But that's not it. But they can't even see that. But you've got to be able to see that to get to the corner. That as far as any corollary between what the people in you ordinarily talk about, that is what your nervous system has talked about to you personally. And of course, much of it you blabbered out to everybody else, but right now, just what's going on inside of you. The planning, the thinking, the conniving, the pondering. Can you see that in a quite real sense, there is just no connection? I know there seems to be, because you seem to think about things that you want to do, you seem to think about things you did do, but if you get around the corner, can you see that as far as that having any effect on how you live, then I ask you, can you then ponder the alternative, the way I was putting it to you? That is absolutely ridiculous. It is beyond even futility in the city. They just can't hear it. Ordinary intelligence cannot hear it. To say, all right, can you consider being able to act without thinking of acting? Without there being even an apparent connection, I should say, of there actually being a ruler who says, all right, I will do as I want. I'll do as I please. Let the people say what they want. Let them say what they please. I'll do as I please. There's no way to argue this. I cannot say you on this because it does not even make flying sense to ordinary intelligence, because that cannot be. That is self-defeating verbally to the purpose of the intellect itself. So says the intellect. It would say, well, what's the sense of me even talking if you're not going to listen? And of course I can't step in and say, that's the point. Has it ever listened? All I'm telling you now, in a sense, is to do willfully what everybody does mechanically. In case all of you still think I've never even slipped up and sort of told you what this is about. It sounds silly, unreasonable, irrational, and just anything else you want to throw in. So I said it first. You can't accuse me of it. I said it first. So there. It's just impossible. How could you act and just divorce yourself from the thinking of acting? Turn it around the other way. If you can see it, your thinking of acting bears what resemblance to your actions? I guess about the same kind of resemblance maybe breast transplants have to calendars. If you can see that the way things normally flow, the mechanical way in which man is situated, that is to get a glimpse of the fact that truly there's nobody in control in you. There's an indoors, but if you're going to expect to find a king sitting indoors, there is a he that says he's king, or she that says, yes, I'm you. You know, it's you and me against that other guy, that other girl. There's a guy in there. But if you can see anything, you do realize by now, you get glimpses of it quite clearly, that is somewhere beyond being fatalistic or pessimistic, that there is nobody in control. There's something in control. It's not like that, oh, well, you made me see that I'm not in control. We're all out of control. We're a flywheel gone berserk. You know, that's even dumber. I made you dumber if I did that. I made you dumber than you were when you got here, which staggers me to contemplate. You're not in control, but something's in control. The son of a bitch is alive and well and smart as a whip, if I may turn a phrase. So smart that it makes you look like, well, have you ever seen Elmer Fudd? Well, there is something in charge, but there's nothing in charge in you. And you got to see that, but you got to get past the corner, of course. Then once you see that, then you can try and expand what you see to where I was trying to point to tonight. There's no need to get in there, said I in my classically understated manner. No need to try to go in there and say, all right, you people, all this noise has been going on here for 30 years. I either want it stopped or I want it to become meaningful. And the people all stood up to the king and went, yay! You know, count on me, sire. Well, either that or they holler, you know, hey, your grace. It doesn't matter. It can become a hobby. You can spend the rest of your years involved, apparently, in some sort of attempt to help yourself or to become more conscious, to awaken your inner possibilities or whatever. If you could see, though, that there is no control going on, there is no control exercised over the people, that is, over the noise in you, but there is control going on. This thing is alive. You can't escape it. You can think it's alive, you can think it's not alive. It doesn't matter. You can think you're in control, you can think you're not in control. I'm talking about now at the ordinary level. The good old operation of the nervous system on the binary, computerized principle. You can think that you're in control, and then sometimes later, that same moment, that same day, you can think, no, I'm not in control. Doesn't matter. But you got to see that something is in control. And if something is in control, and it can let a few of you, it can let you, is all the thing you should care about, let you get a glimpse of it, then that means you might be able to get closer to this. You might be able to get closer to you internally being to the point to say, in a way that you understand, is, hey, let the people, since they are anyway, let the people say what they want. I'll do what I want. And from a binary view, possibly almost no observable connection. Does any of this make any more sense to those of you that keep liking it, of how I tell you the way to actually do something, especially when you start going against what seems to be the great forces in you driving you, the great forces out there suppressing you, is to do something. You're going to lose weight? If you got a scale, throw the mother away. Whatever you're going to do, don't chart it. Don't keep score. Don't tell yourself what you're going to do. Don't let the people say, "Ah, sire, we see you've quit drinking." Don't respond to them. If you're assuming that you were used to drinking, now you're trying to quit drinking, let's say. Whatever it is. The people, some of them are going to say, and look how nice it is, especially the people, to even care. But for anybody to ask you a question, those of you that just are fairly recent arrivals, I never got on this one about you, but if you notice that in the city, people are ordinarily wired up, the strangers can come up and ask you a question, and it's almost impossible for you not to respond. Somebody just walk up to you and say, "Have you had any sex in the last 48 hours?" And assuming they look fairly dressed and don't look, deranged, if somebody just walks up and asks you, if you notice your nervous system will almost tell the truth. They'll walk up to you and just say, or bust up something, say, "Do you make more than $30,000 a year?" And you'll almost answer. You can't help it. You might later say, "God damn, what the nerve of that?" Then you can turn right around, a person comes to you and say, "Was that guy asking you a personal question?" And you go, "Yeah. And there you are again." A would-be revolutionist, a real revolutionist, has got the power not to do that. If you hadn't got that power, all you're done is wired up. You're in series, or worse, maybe in parallel. You're part of the great Christmas tree string that is the city intelligence. One light lights, the next one lights. They bump in, and you got no choice. It serves the general purposes of life. It is a beautiful piece of work, of art, but you've got to have the ability to almost short-circuit that kind of thing. You have got to have the ability that you're going to do something, and you do not require, to begin with, that you tell the people, "Hey, folks, guess what? I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to lose weight." Not only don't do that, and some of you get little glimpses of that, some of you actually have reached the point, some of you have learned from that, but also to the point of not listening to the people. Not just that you do not instigate the situation or the conversation, but don't listen to people. If the people suddenly say, "Your Grace, you haven't had a drink in a week. Are you trying to quit drinking?" It's not a matter of what you tell them. Don't tell them anything. Let the people say what they want. I'll do what I want. The closer, as insane as this sounds at the ordinary level, that you can take this, and it's not that they operate in isolation, of course. You're not turned into some physical schizophrenic to where you're compartmentalized and you're thinking and you don't know what's going on. But is that you have actually divorced yourself, that you do not even respond to the people. You don't waste your time trying to stamp them out. You don't waste your time trying to argue with them. Remember where I started tonight. This guy says, this ruler says, "Let the people say what they want." Is that plain enough? He didn't put any conditions. He didn't say as long as it's not personal, as long as it's not seditious, as long as it's not into my personal affairs. He just said, "Let the people say what they want, comma, and I'll do what I want." Is that plain enough? You don't have your own nervous system say. It's come to our attention by way of our liver and other parts, or the organs down here, part of the blood and gut system, that there's been no alcohol forthcoming here for the last, we estimate, well over 200 hours. Have you quit drinking? It's not a matter of saying yes or no. Don't say anything. Literally. What business is it of theirs? Did they ever help you? I'm about to push it further than I care to, you people. You have simply got to see it's useless. And then see, around the corner, it's beyond useless. In fact, if any of you ever think, even though I tell you, you and your people, that I tell you this is not no form of sermonizing, it is no hectoring of life, it is no attack. At times, the way I dramatize things and examples and etc., I can make it sound like that much of what humanity does is dumb. But that's nothing. If I was actually accusing people of that, you're looking at the prime time. You're looking at the leader of the army of dumbness. Because me doing that, I would make what I apparently, to some of you might be making attacks of dumbness on people. For me to attack it would be the supreme dumbness. There is nothing to talk to yourself about. If you can see how to divorce, if you can decide to do something, and you can simply live what I started out describing, that let the people say what they want, I will do as I want, that it is a kind of ultimate willful division. And this is not anything that's going to be widespread. It's not something to teach humanity. It cannot be the basis of some sort of organized group of some kind. Very limited, because it would be disruptive to the nature of the way things are now operating. But for you to find a place in you, which of course is a new place in the nervous system that life has not already ignited in you, there's a new kind of intelligence, and that what you do is just separate. Don't make me holler anymore and holler fucking separate, absolutely diverse, diverged from. It's worse than that. It's better than that. It's not that you're in some way separated from the talk. That doesn't begin to say it. It's not like, well, I'm resisting the talk, or I don't approve of the talk anymore. Go back. The ruler says, let the people say what they want, comma, and I'll do what I want. That's it. That's why I started out and kicked it around, turned it inside out, and showed you it was impossible. Showed you it might be possible out here, but impossible in here. No, then I showed you it was impossible out there, although it might be possible in here, but if it's impossible out there, it can't be right. But now we're back. That covers it. Let the people say what they want, and I will do what I want. But if you start talking to the people, if you listen to them at all, if you want to struggle with them, just inside, if you will respond at all to what they said to you, inquiries, flattery, threats, then you've lost it. And to that same degree, you have not quit drinking. You have not stopped smoking. You have not begun to lose weight. Because then you begin to chart what you're doing, not by actually losing weight or stop drinking, but you chart it by the degree to which you are arguing with the people. Well, I told them, yeah, but you look fatter than you used to. Yeah, but I told them. It's some success, apparently. And the only success is a kind of incest. That, well, I told myself I was going to quit drinking. And I don't know, I guess it's years of habit, and what they're saying is, and then it's like some of the bad acquaintances. They made me go back drinking. Now, I admit, so don't bring it up. I know you saw me out drunk. And well, of course, you helped bail me out. But let me tell you this. That's enough. I have finally learned my lesson. I know I said it last week, but you can count on it this week. That passes for some success. That is the nature of the city. A person doesn't have to quit drinking. All you got to do is say, I have quit drinking. All right, I know I said that, and I started back drinking last week, but now I've really quit. That is some success, is it not? Because no success would somebody say, well, I know I said I'd quit drinking, and I got drunk this weekend and got put in jail, and so, fuck it. Now that's failure. The guy says, well, I'm a drunk. It's just, I don't know. I'm a born drunk, and to hell with it. I don't ever want to hear anybody talk about quit drinking. That's all of it. Now that's failure, right? Obviously. So success is to say, all right, I may not have completely conquered this demon, this weakness in me, but by God, I'm struggling. Nothing succeeds as is purported to succeed. Remember, I've pointed out time and again, churches do not make people religious, psychiatry does not heal people, etc. The post office, never mind. No organization does. It does not fulfill what its purported purpose is. As long as you talk, as long as you will let the people talk, and you take it seriously, as long as apparently what you do, that your actions in any way, positive, negative, sideways, direct, indirect, as long as there is any correlation between what you think, that is your people, your thinking of action, and your action, then you are a Kmart ruler. You're on a throne made out of balsa wood and all kinds of other poetic flim-flam that I won't pursue any further. You're not doing anything except having some success. I talk to myself differently. A few of the people I have finally told off, as a matter of fact. Well, whoopee, I'll probably start a national holiday, a yearly holiday in you because you told somebody off. I told one of the people in me that, hey, you've made me do that one too many times. 5,470 times, but yeah, that last one, I'm not going to take it laying down anymore, which obviously means it's some kind of vice that you can do sitting up. Well, I think that's a prologue to me stopping. I guess it would be a proper finish to say, here it is again, the question. So let me ask you again, is, hey, what's the use in being king if you don't get special privileges? Hey. Got a short epilogue. Epilogus. We upped. You people presently getting the tapes in groups, and a few of you individuals, you know who you are. Florida, New York, California, Montana, Washington, not Armenia. They're all of you. I want you to do something. This is not a request. This is a requirement. I want you, as soon as possible, you people out of town, as soon as you hear this tape, well then the next day, I want you to go to the post office or somewhere and buy yourself 12 postcards to keep by themselves just for one purpose. And that is, the first of each month, starting in January, I want you, each and every one of you people who consider yourself part of the group of serious people getting this tape, I want you once a month, on the first, I want you to write it and get in the mail. Write me a postcard in your own handwriting, and if you got little squinty brains and thoughts, don't write little squinty. Write legibly, sign your name. Since a handful of you people I've never met, sign your name so I know who it's from. But the first of each month, I want you to write me personally a postcard at that post office box that everybody knows. Legibly, and tell me something. Tell me hi. Or if you're from the South, tell me hey. If you're at all inclined, you can say something further. Say what your latest favorite car route was. Tell me something new that you're doing in life. That can be very short, and you can just say hi if that's it. You can at least say hi, all is well, and sign your name so I know who it was. I'm not expecting you to fill up the whole postcard with a little teeny-weeny stuff. But if you can say something like, got a new job, I bought a new synthesizer, I got a new car. You know, it's just any little thing that you find interesting going on in your life, include that, and then sign your name. There you go. You just tell me your latest thoughts. Like, do you think that the Mike Tyson marriage will ever work itself out? Next year, will Ed Meese become a game show host? Or will James Brown make his 127th comeback? Or each and every person that considers yourself, well, you know who you are, I leave it to you, that you're part of any of those collections in those cities, those of you in places that just, there's still a few of you just almost getting them by yourself. The first of each month, send me a postcard. Write it on the first day of each month and drop it in the mail that day or within 24 hours. Each and every month without fail. Even you can handle this task. Even me? Even you.